Hiya, thank you for joining me today. Welcome, wendyAndersonjustbe.me. Come on into my office. Welcome, join me. So I thought in this video it might be quite interesting to do one about SARS. It's quite an interesting little virus situation going on here. So let's find out a little bit more and have a little bit of a delve into it and to see what we find. So SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. It's pulmonary infection, a severe pulmonary infection characterised by sudden appearance of a fever exceeding 100.4 Fahrenheit or 38 degrees centigrade, coughing, shortness of breath and difficulty breathing. So this is an interesting one, and it leads me on to, there is a belief system that basically that if you are automatically exposed to a pathogen is a bacteria, virus or a parasite, that if you are automatically exposed to a virus or a bacteria, that you are automatically going to get sick and be symptomatic from it. So there's been several studies out there which are really fascinating, really interesting, that basically throws this concept out of the water. Interesting, I know, because as a kid you've always been told, oh, there's cold going round, you know, and you'll automatically get it from a family member, or not always the case. So a common cold is basically if the nose is streaming and you're running, it's because you're running around like a fool anyway. You'll get the cold. If you're quite chilled and laid back, then you'll be the family member that'll just completely, the cold will bypass you. You'll have the symptom, but you will carry the virus, which is HRSV, but you won't actually be symptomatic from it. So you can carry viruses and not be symptomatic. So this follows on with my training of thought, as yes, you do need a virus for the symptoms to appear, but you also need a training of thought behind it also, or a limiting belief or some kind of lifestyle that kind of allows you more susceptibility to be symptomatic from the pathogen in itself. So these interesting studies that are coming about that blows the concept out of the water that you will automatically be symptomatic if you are exposed to a pathogen is really interesting. So there's a few that I'll tell you about. So one is, I think they took a certain amount of number of people. So they were all in hotel rooms. So they were all exposed to the same standard of living at that point and same conditions. So they exposed them all to the same pathogen, and they had several outcomes. So every single individual responded differently to the same pathogen. So this blows the theory out of the water that if you're exposed to it, you're automatically going to become symptomatic and sick from it. So we know that this isn't the case, that some people will be reactive from the pathogens and some people will not. The interesting factor is why are some people symptomatic and why are others not? Great question. So the other studies were with a really amazing guy called Wim Hof. They injected him with E. coli. So Wim Hof, he practices Qigong breathing technique on a daily basis to keep himself upright and fresh every day. And the guy is as fresh as a daisy. You've got to love him. Check him out. He's brilliant. So he practices a certain Qigong breathing technique that he'd learned. Injected this guy with E. coli, not symptomatic, didn't touch his sides. So then they said, right, it's just a medical phenomenon. Okay, let's try it with other people. So they injected 12 other individuals with E. coli, and these 12 other individuals he taught the Qigong breathing practice to. Same thing, non-symptomatic. Interesting, isn't it? So I thought, okay, we'll do a control test. So then they injected 12 other people, E. coli, all came down with the squits and the old kind of like deli belly. So it's really interesting how there are experiments out there that absolutely blow the theory out of the water. Exposure means symptoms. It doesn't actually seem to be the case. So this really follows in line with my theory of there are potential trainings of thoughts, belief systems, and the way we live our lives that these pathogens aren't really kind of like evil little things just to kind of like really interrupt your day and kind of like bring these symptoms on. They are here to actually nudge you into another consciousness. So whenever there is a symptom in the body, it's always carrying a fear. So it's kind of like the symptoms are nudging your consciousness to kind of like say, right, you're in a fear state here in some way, shape or form. It's nudging you to come back into a peaceful love state. How you do that is kind of like you're choosing. There are very, very many various methods of doing this. Nutritionally, breathing techniques, consciously, raise your conscious awareness, meditations, delve into those other dimensions. All of these things can have a real profound effect on our well-being and health. Affirmations as well. So affirmations can help change your training of thought, and kind of like the ritual of the affirmation really sets home the energy of it. All really, really interesting things to just go out there and look them up. A lot of them you can get information for free. Try it, look it up. Okay, so back to SARS. So the training of thought behind SARS. I'm afraid, no kidding, you know, kind of like when you see people that were kind of like in the hospital from these, their eyes were kind of like saucers. You could see the fear was tangible in these people. I'm breathing badly, I am choking, I am feverish. And it's almost kind of like they are choking in their lives as well, that something is stifling them and restricting them so much. It's kind of like, well, you know, I'm choosing another consciousness in leaving this plane, because this way of living in this restriction and poisonous experience is just too much to bear. I fear breaking out of it. I fear I can't break out of it. I fear I'm restricted, I'm stuck. So my temperature rises when I am feeling trapped somewhere, in my coupling, work or elsewhere. Lab perhaps. I know I must reconsider my vital space for the situation in which I feel invaded from all sides, of people who are poisoning my existence. Interesting. It is becoming urgent for me to raise my consciousness and free myself of these fears in order to fully come to terms with my existence. I question myself about fears of commitment. So yeah, it's kind of like questioning, what the heck am I committing to here, and is there a way out of it? So an affirmation that comes with these belief systems is, I accept to consider situations where I find my place or decide that it is time to disengage. Get the heck out. So if you're feeling restricted around the chest in any way, shape or form, the chest is basically telling you to get the heck out of there, whatever it is, whether it's your coupling, your marriage, work, life, well, I mean your lifestyle, not life in, you know, it's just get the heck out of it. To extract myself, to break off, or to change something in my behaviour. Yeah, the fear, you know, that you're obviously in a situation that there is a lot of fear systems around it, and basically it's kind of the body is saying, love yourself more, mate, kind of like get out of it. So I learn to choose myself on the basis of my needs, and I become harmony again by breathing fully. So basically when you free yourself out of a poisonous situation or a stifling situation or a restrictive situation, then you can fully breathe and feel liberated and unrestricted again. Now remember, freedom and liberation is a training of thought. It is in the mind, it is not really in the situation. So interesting how you can culture liberation and freedom from the mindset, not from the experience. So it's just look at how you are living at the moment, and yes, there may be restrictions and things like that and mandates, but it is just to see how can I create freedom in my own mindset, in my own lifestyle, in my own way of being. How can I step out of fear and love back into myself? So it's just our questions around this. I just thought it'd be an interesting one. I'll leave this with you guys and ladies and all out there. Love to every single one of you. Take care, have an amazing day, enjoy the sunshine that we've been blessed with, and love the heck out of yourselves, most important thing. Take care guys, bye.